400 billion parameters. Scout 17 billion, same speed. The number everyone uses to judge models, not the number that matters. This video, which number does what? Last video, we cut the AI lifecycle into two: months to train, milliseconds to run. Today, we are cutting the model itself open. You have seen this number 109 billion, 400 billion, 671 billion. Maybe someone said I am using a 17 billion model, like that meant something obvious. What do you think the number points to? What does it actually point to? Not performance, not quality, not speed. It points to one thing. Let's see what. A neural network, which we drew in video 3, is the graph of connections. Each connection has a weight. The weight is a number: 0.3847 minus 1.2091, 0.0023. During the training, the model adjusts those billions of times until the output starts making sense. When the training ends, the numbers are frozen. The frozen collections of number, that is the model, the whole model, nothing else. A 70 billion is 70 billion of those frozen numbers. No magic, no intelligence, just numbers, specific, precise, and fixed. 8 billion, that's roughly every person on the earth. Pass and picture that. Every human who has ever sent a WhatsApp message, every doctor, every child, 8 billion. A 7 billion model that has nearly that many frozen numbers. A 70 million model has about 9 times that. Llama 4 Maverick, 400 billion total, 50 times every person ever alive. Here's where it clicks. The question isn't whether those are big numbers. Of course they are. The question is, what do you do with the 70 billion floating point numbers at the inference time? That's a question that determines your GPU bill. Every parameter has to live in GPU memory during inference, not disk, not RAM, GPU memory. A 32-bit float is 4 bytes. Most production serving uses 16 bits, that's 2 bytes. So 70 billion parameters into 2 bytes is 140 gigabytes of GPU memory, just for the model weights, not the context window, not the batch, just the weights. And H100, the current workhorse of production AI, has 80 gigabytes of VRAM. Your 70 billion model does not fit on one H100. You need at least two. Think about that. One number on the model card printed there to describe quality is directly controlling how much hardware you rent. Let the table sit there for a second. DeepSeek V3, 671 billion total parameters. In FP16, the weight alone needs 1342 gigabytes of VRAM. That's 17 H100 GPUs just to hold the model. Nobody in the production uses full FP16. They quantize, they compress, they use MOE. Which brings us to the twist in this video. This is the part most people miss. The number on the model card for some models is the total parameter count, not how many run. Mixture of experts or MOE. A dense model activates every parameter for every token, all 70 billion every time. An MOE model routes each token through a small set of specialized experts. Only those experts activate. The rest sit idle in the memory, loaded but not computing. This distinction matters enormously. Active parameters are what burn through your inference budget. Total parameters are what you loaded. Predict for Maverick with 400 billion total, how many run per token. The payoff. Llama 4 Maverick, 400 billion total parameters, 17 billion active per token. Llama 4 Scout, 109 billion total parameters, 17 billion active per token. What's the active route? They are identical. That's why they generate the tokens at the same speed. The total parameter count tells you something about training capacity, how much knowledge the model could potentially encode. But the inference speed and inference cost are determined entirely by active parameters. Now you see why. The old model, bigger is better. More parameters, more quality, worth the cost. That's still partially true for dense models. Every extra parameter can in theory hold more world knowledge. But the cost and speed penalty scales linearly with active parameters. MOE breaks the triangle. Maverick has 23 times more total parameters than Scout. Same active count, same inference cost. But the models saw 23 times more parameter capacity during the training. More room to specialize each expert. So, bigger total parameters, sometime worth it for quality. Bigger active parameters always means slower and more expensive. Knowing which number someone is quoting you. Two things to carry forward. One, when someone says I'm using a 400 billion parameter model, ask if that's total or active. The answer changes everything, whether they need a 3 GPUs or 30 GPUs. Two, total parameter counts predict quality ceiling. Active parameter count predicts your bill. Those are two different numbers. Now you know the difference. In next video, we zoom out the 12-year arc, AlexNet in 2012 to ChatGPT in 2022. The 5 moments where the field actually jumped and what was really happening underneath each time. Make sure you subscribe and like the video.